Forum. My name is Dora Poniloro, and I am pleased to be moderating today's discussion on the topic, the importance of involving youth in decision-making, peace building, post-conflict construction of South Sudan. We are streaming live via our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and our LinkedIn page. So please follow, share, and leave your comments. Joined with me today is a panel of experts in different fields involving youth participation at different levels of the society. I would go on and present to you all of them, and I'll start with Honorable Nadia Arob. Honorable Nadia Arob today is the Minister of Culture, Museum, and National Heritage. She was formerly the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports, former Deputy Minister for Animal Resources, and Member of Parliament since 2005 up to date. Honorable Nadia is the chairwoman for SPLM Women's League in Bentiu, a civil servant in background of experience and held positions as a civil servant and supervisor in Sudan, by then in coordination of his Unity State. She also worked as statistics officer in Al Jazeera, Sudan, and member of Constitutional Review from 2008 to 2010. You're very welcome, Honorable Nadia.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my sister.
Our next panelist is Ms. Modi Enosa Mbaraza. She's the founder and executive director for Young Women Christian Association of South Sudan, that's YMCA. Modi is a champion in capacity building and young women's empowerment in South Sudan. She works tirelessly to ensure that young people, especially those who are fresh from the university, gain work experience and have access to job market. Modi Enosa holds a master's degree in sociology and social policy from Nottingham University in the UK. She is passionate about women's leadership, gender equality, and development at community level in South Sudan. You're very welcome, Ms. Modi. Our next panelist is Nyadang Lam. Some technical problems. She is a peace advocate with an interest in peace building, women empowerment, youth engagement, and a keen focus on peace and development, inclusion and promotion of human rights. Currently, she volunteers with Special Olympics South Sudan, which works with persons with intellectual disabilities, and works as the communications manager at I Am Peace. Nyadang, you're welcome. The next one out is Monica Kafish, sorry. She has a bachelor's degree in sociology and gender studies. She works as a case manager within the Youth and Family Therapeutic Intervention Program and Child Protection Services. Monica takes a holistic approach to case management with her clients to help support them overcome any barriers impacting their well-being and participation in education, work, and community. Monica, you're welcome. The last panelist out is Keji Kujo Sanga Salvatore. Keji was born and raised in Khartoum, Sudan. In 2007, she and her family migrated to Milwaukee, Wisconsin in USA. She taught as a middle school teacher in Memphis, Tennessee. Currently, she's a managing director for the 2020 election campaign in the US. KG enjoys braiding hair, thrift shopping, wine sampling, binging Netflix dramas, reading, road tripping, experiment cooking, and occasionally writing poetry that the world never sees. She also has a few blogs on African women's stories. You're welcome, KG. That's a very great panel, and I'm looking so much forward to the discussion we're going to have. So let's get started. On today's topic. In South Sudan, the importance of focusing on young people is obvious, as they represent the majority of the population. 70% of the population of South Sudan are young. Furthermore, South Sudanese youth have low educational attainment, inconsistent economic participation, and also are affected by the widespread violence that has existed for a number of years in different regions of the country. The United Nations defines youth as those individuals between the ages of 15 and 24 years old. Youth in South Sudan is defined in a more flexible manner, comprising those individuals who are 15 to 35 years. That's very promising. South Sudan youth face unique circumstances of violent conflict and conflict-related disruptions, such as migration, displacement, and associated physical and mental health consequences, as well as the lack of educational and skills opportunities. The inherent fragility of young people's lives makes it difficult for them to cope with stresses of different types, frequently local and specific. It also makes them less able to influence their environment, to reduce those stresses. As a result, they become increasingly vulnerable. Even when trends move in the right direction, the more vulnerable are often unable to benefit because they lack assets and strong institutions working in their favor. Children and youth are often the most visible victims in crises that sustain political and economic instability. They are the canaries in the coal mines whose well-being provides an indication of the deeper impacts of violent conflict. They lack voice or power to access services in situations where resources are often the source of conflict between different interests. South Sudan's first ever State of the Youth report has indicated that 2.2 million South Sudanese children are missing out of school altogether. 86% of children attending school fail to complete it. 31% of girls aged 15 to 19 years have begun childbearing, and more than half of women aged 20 to 24 got married before they turned 18. And 98% of girls between 15 and 19 years of age were currently in a relationship. 80% of the population living in poverty, that's on less than $1 a day. And 90% of youth having no formal employment, and a majority of them being unemployed and unemployable. A lack of access to education and vocational training is arguably a root cause of several other ills. Youth participation in politics and democratic process is a major challenge. Youth or young people are systematically excluded from decision making based on their young age and inexperience, with politics regarded as a space for mature and experienced persons. Limited democratic space has seen young people engage in hate speech to vent their frustrations, with incitements to conflict and violence being common. Addressing the unique needs of the youth should be given priority if our country is to avoid that group being marginalized, young people being marginalized and potential resorting to violent forms of political articulation of their demands. There is an urgent need to build on government's recognition that youth are a special group that need attention and resources committed to their cause and concerns. So far, there have been few resources committed to the realization of this goal. Political will on the part of the government needs to be backed up by concrete actions. So now, our Honorable Nadia Arop, why is youth very important? And why do we need to empower the youth? And why is unemployment of youth so high in South Sudan?
Once again, good evening or good morning or good afternoon where you are. I really want to appreciate this panel, and also I want to confirm whether you are all hearing my voice or not. I want to, first of all, let me say that congratulations to you people who are here today, because to come together is not an easy, as you have seen that to look for the technology to bring us together is something difficult a bit. Even if we can do it in our homes, it's difficult also. And also really enjoy and also happy to be with you and share with you our problems, our concerns, whether outside there or inside. These are the things that we need really to come together. That's why I'm happy. Those who organize this panel, I'm really very happy to be with you this evening. Coming to the question, yes, we have a lot of things to say about the young people in our country, whether worldwide. It is something that related. These are the young people that we are talking about. Is something, one issue only all over the world, and the burden that on the young people are not different from country to country. At least your country is developed, or your country is better a bit when you talk about the betterness. But in our country, as we know that we pass through very, very difficult times, wars, and also that I can see the young people who are just born in the war. Even me, I has been born in the war, but now I can say that I am grown now within the war, and also other people have been born during the war. And these are the challenges that we are facing as a young country. Not only as a young country, let us go back a bit to our history as when we were one nation, as a Sudan, and then after our independence. If we are talking about South Sudanese and the development, I want to refer for education, because to build a young people, empowered people, energetic people, we need also to refer to education, because we know that education is one of the tools that can make young people to succeed and to build a better nation. Because when we are talking about the young people, the role of the young people, you refer directly to how the young people can have a big role in a nation building. Nothing that you can, because all of us, we are talking about how we can live in a better nation, and how we can really do our things, and how we can live differently in our homes. And why I bring the history when we were in one country, because we have marginalized. That's why we came and we decide to have our nation. And one of the things that has locked us out to have development in education sector is because we are marginalized. We have been treated as a landlocked country. We don't have a good education, so that we can, because the basic, when you go back to our forefathers, you can get that there is education. There is no education. Nothing that can give us a country without education. But now we have a young people who are better than our generation also, that can take the nation forward and can do better, more than our forefathers. And this is why I really say that to empower the young people. Why the young people are like that one in South Sudan? Because we went through difficulties. There is a lot of difficulties that we went through it. And to adjust it, we need also to think about after the independence, after the wars, after the peace, what is the role of the young people? I think the role of the young people, as a former minister to the Ministry of Youth, I was concerned about it, because when you are talking about the young people, you are not talking about only the nation, the ministry. No, I was dealing with the young people as my children, because I have also in my house, I have my children who are also tomorrow they will become a responsible people in the nation that I am in. So that if I did not deal with them as a mother, as a responsible person, I will not, if I think just only I have been given a portfolio that's, whether there is nothing in it or there is something in it, at the end of the day, there is a role that I should play. And the one thing that came to my mind is the empowerment of the young people. We give them a tools, we empower them, but what is the environment that we should empower the young people? That is a question all of us, because the environment that we are in is oppressing everyone, whether it is a government, whether it's a young people, but the role of the young people need to be empowered. Whether by the government, whether by the private sector, it is something that we make sure that the young people are empowered, because they have a primary role to play. Without that, they cannot do anything, because the generation comes and the generation goes. It is our role now to make sure that the young people are empowered, but we have a lot of challenges. The major challenges is we are operating within the war. There is no stability in our country. How do we blame others? How do we blame young people? Even if they are not moving forward, we cannot blame them, because there is a lot of challenges that they are facing in the country. I think a lot need to be done, and it is a responsibility for anybody that to make sure that the young people are well empowered, well given their role, because also if you are talking about young people, you are talking about the nation, you are talking about tomorrow. It's just only today, and to empower them for tomorrow, you need also to give them tools. I think these are the things that I can say about how we can empower the young people, because empower them, we need to empower them also politically. And the most important is to educate them, because education, without education, no nation can go ahead, because that's why we have a challenges when we are in Sudan. They are seeing us that as people that are not educated, and it is very important for the young people who are sitting here now with me to know the history of our country, where we came from, and where we are going. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Nadia. You have raised up very important issues in regards to youth empowerment, the importance of education, the importance of making the environment conducive for them to be able to use the competence that they have, and the collective responsibility that we all have to empower our youth. Thank you so much. Now I'll go to Ms. Modi and Baraza. The organization has been praised for employing youth and giving young women the opportunity to work right after graduating from the university. This is something that is seen to empower the young people to get the skills and the experience they need to join the workforce. Your organization has also connected young women with scholarship programs overseas, leading to the empowerment in education. So what motivated you to use the strategy of employing and giving the chance for young women to start working with your organization and doing internship? We can't hear you, Ms. Modi. We can't hear you. I think she's having some technical problems. Hello? Yeah. Are you there? No. Okay. I think she's having some technical problems, so I'll go on to Miss Monica. What does peace building and post conflict reconstruction mean to you?
Thank you, Dora. And thanks for the opportunity to be here today. Well, youth can be heroes as well as victims, saviors and courageous in the midst of crisis, and yet as a category. Youth are often approached as a fixed group or demographic cohort. Youth are either considered as victims or perpetrators of violence, but rarely as enablers who can play an important role in peace building. Well, this needs to change if the youth need to play a constructive role in peace building. Armed conflict affects the lives of youth as well as their families, their communities, and their nations. The actions and inactions of a range of security actors have a different impact on girls, boys, men, and women, given the distinct roles they play during war, peace building, and post-conflict reconstruction. Many post-conflict states are left in a state of fragile peace with no real closure of the issues. Understanding how youth experience conflict, post-conflict, peace building, and through this, how they view and experience both insecurity and security is vital in interpreting short-term and long-term consequences on their development. What happens to youth in their early years significantly determines the way they grow and develop, and in turn, their cost and contribution to society. Youth have a crucial role to play in either taking forward peace or conflict. For example, there is a quote from a formerly abducted girl associated with rebel group who stated that, "I can help bring peace in South Sudan if only my views are heard and acted upon. I don't hold a gun anymore. I hold the power of my voice. When visitors come to see us in the centers, they normally ask us about our experiences and how we managed to escape. But they should also be asking us how we can participate in the peace process ourselves, because we also fought in the war." Youth are subjected to stereotypical images of being angry, drugged, and violent, and as threat, especially those who participated in armed conflict as fighters. On the other hand, recent literature on youth in post-conflict societies makes a shift in thinking about youth. It underlines the agency perspective and acknowledges the importance of making the connection between youth and peace building for transforming a predominantly negative discourse on the role of youth in societies recovering from conflict. Youth as peace builders in the society has a bearing on their leadership potentials and their possible role in peace building. The tension between youth and old has been one of the key features of intergenerational shifts, pertaining to control over power, resources, and people. In this sense, dependency, exclusion, and social or political marginalization become prominent sources of social context. At the same time, it should be recognized that such societal dynamics, challenges, and opportunities vary across different cultural contexts. To understand the engagement of youth in peace building, first of all, the youth mobilization and reintegration factors such as who they are, what they did before the conflict, how they were recruited, what specific fighting roles they undertook, what they experienced physically, socioeconomically, and psychologically during the armed conflict, and what home context they will be reintegrated into, will all be critical for the youth trajectories in peace building. Secondly, the involvement of youth in nonviolent politics, and from a wider perspective, the enablement of their political agency in a more positive and peace-oriented role in post-conflict environment is likely to depend on how these trajectories are shaped by the overall political and governance context. Thirdly, the enablement of youth as an active agent in peace building cannot be considered without considering such challenges they tend to face due to the armed conflicts such as the loss of education, lack of employable skills, and the destruction of a stable family home or family environment. The wider socioeconomic needs of youth are often ignored in post-conflict contexts, as they are not seen as vulnerable group. And fourthly, it is important to provide youth with training opportunities to take an active part in peace building. With their youthful energy and capabilities and ability to adaptation to new technology trends, for example, youth could act as mediators, community mobilizers, humanitarian workers, and peace brokers. Like any particular conflict-affected population group, the mobilization of youth capacities require a targeted and long-term approach. It is also vital to avoid the well-known platitude of referring to youth as the future leaders. Leadership should not be considered as a factor of age, and providing appropriate governance context will likely enable young people to flourish as leaders today. In other words, they need to be treated as leaders today without postponing it to an indefinable future, whether it is in governance or in general or peace building programs specifically. So, yeah, I think I will end there.
Thank you so much, Monica. That was really insightful. I think it's a reminder for us to look at youth as enablers,
Yeah,
the assets they are in our communities, and not waiting for them to be the leaders of tomorrow, but giving them the chance to be able to work right now, to use their talents and their assets. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Nyadag, sorry, and then I'll come back to you, Ms. Modi. What roles can the youth play in peace processes, decision making, and nation building? Ms. Nyadag.
Thank you, Dora, for the opportunity, and I'm glad to be on the panel. To answer your question, the youth play so many different roles in all the different sectors. When we look at peace processes, they have been active since the beginning of time, even before the 72 agreement. We come down to the CPA, to the RCIS, and now to the RRCIS. Youth have played crucial roles, which include participating directly in this agreement, ensuring that the right provisions are placed in this agreement that also not only support the youth themselves, but support the entire country. I want to look at the 28 agreements specifically. The youth were in Addis. They were there as youth groups. They were there as part of the women groups. They were even there as, with the political parties, providing support in the different manners that they needed it. And it becomes a bit unfair for the youth to be left out of processes after the fact that, the signing of the agreement, when they were in the forefront of ensuring that certain provisions are put in place. And some of the provisions, as I would like to add, that were in the 2018 agreement that were missing, for example, in the 2016 agreement, include the Youth Enterprise Fund, which is Article 415.1.4, which talks about the establishment of a Youth Enterprise Fund. That is important and it's key because in a state that we are in right now as a country, and also with the high rates of unemployment, having the Youth Enterprise Fund will be able to ensure that youth are able to, access these funds to be able to create jobs for themselves, to be able to, contribute into the economy of the country. They're able to build for themselves. They're able to build structures that will be able to be left in the future. The youth also advocated for ensuring that the Minister of Youth should actually be a youth. And that is Article 1.4.5. Because how can you say it's a Minister of Youth if they're all above the age of 40? So we are glad to see that actually happened with the reconstitution of the Government of National Unity. The new Minister of Youth is up to 40 years of age. So that is something we are very grateful for and we can commend. But also we would like to urge that the other articles and the other provisions are put into place. Youth have also played a major role in the different mechanisms. For example, right now, mechanisms that were made out of the agreement, the 2018 agreement, include the National Constitution Amendment Commission. We also have the Strategic Board and Defense. We have youth members in those boards who are able to also push the influence and the need of youth participation in these boards, and which that in its entire sense pushes towards nation building. Now, in regards to decision making, youth have been active in their own organizations. They've been active in the civil society arena, in which you see many of them in the civil society arena. They're very high on advocacy. They've been doing well on the advocacy front, but you realize that there are a lot of them who are missing in actual decision-making positions, which are the much center positions which influence as to which policies are made and which policies are implemented. And at the end of the day, you realize you have to have youth participation because they have, brighter minds. They have a different perspective. They're able to come together and decide and say, well, we're looking at it from different avenues, not just for right now, but also in the future, that this is what we need to provoke into our governance system and implement into our governance systems. So, as we have said before, you cannot just say that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow if you don't engage them today. You will have leaders tomorrow who don't know what they're doing, who have never seen anything in real life. You have very delicate sectors such as diplomacy, such as security. You cannot just hand them over to people who have not had the experience before. So that's why I believe it's important that there's further inclusion of youth in all processes, regardless of what it is, because at the end of the day, they are as well active participants in ensuring that this nation is well built, and realizing that we actually have a unique opportunity, being that we are a country that came out as late as 2011. We're one of the newest countries. Actually, we might still be the newest country in the world. So why don't we take over the unique opportunity that we have to be able to do things right the first time around? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nyadak. That was very insightful. And I think, again, it's a reminder of the 70% that I initially mentioned of being the population of the youth, making them a resource to the society and be able to use them, activate them in the community, and put them in the places of leadership so early, not to wait until they're old. Thank you so much, Nyadak. I'll go back to Ms. Modi. So your question was, what motivated you to use the strategy of employing and giving the chance for young women to start working with your organization and doing internship? Welcome. Yeah, I think Ms. Modi is still experiencing some technical problems. We can't really hear her. So I'll just have to go further and go on to KG. KG, now that you have heard Monica and Nyadang speak about the importance of youth participation in peace building, you yourself is really active in the US. Currently, at the moment, you are the director, the managing director actually for the campaign of the elections that's going on. But you have your background from South Sudan, your origin. Why should we include the South Sudanese youth in the diaspora in decision making? Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here today. I would love to just echo what Nadak and Monica said, as far as just like we need to include young people in every space where important decisions are being made. For me, there are a few quotes or sayings that like anchor me and that I take with me wherever I'm working. The first one is nothing about us without us. And that can be applied to thinking about youth. Like if you're going to make important decisions that are going to impact young people, they need to be in the room. They need to be at the table. Nothing should be made about us without us at the table. And then the other saying that I always think of or that anchors me is those closest to the problem are in the best position to solve the problem. So if there is something that impacts young people, they need to be part of the problem solving team. They need to be there to voice their opinions, to share their experiences. When I think about age, it's not a reflection of your competency. It's not a reflection of your ability to lead or to inspire people or to encourage people. So young people need to be part of the decision making process so that they can share their lived experiences. There is a lot of value in the experiences that we have, and we need to see it as an asset. We need to validate it instead of just dismissing it like, oh, you're too young to make rational decisions. You're too young to be at this table right now. Like most of my experiences are in the US, but I can still reflect on the time that I was in Sudan since I was there until I was 14. And like when I think about all the tribal events that we have, like a lot of times it would be just like, oh, the men are meeting right now. Oh, the elders are making important decisions right now. So you need to go over here. So like that's the type of lesson that I was learning, that anytime there's an important meeting, anytime there are important decisions being made, I need to leave as a woman, I need to leave as a young person because the elders and the men are making those decisions. So I need to exit that space. And that's very dismissive of our experiences as young people, our experiences as marginalized people. So I just believe we need to be in every space where important decisions are being made, because we can offer different perspectives, we can offer different ideas, and representation is so crucial. Like I said, age is not a reflection of like all the trauma that you could go through, all the life struggles that you can experience, and everything that you can bring to the table. So wherever there's decision making happening, we need to have young faces, young voices there because of the different perspectives that they can offer and the importance of just representation for our population. So that's what I can say from my end.
Thank you so much, Lee. That's the voice of the young people. And again, I like what you said. It's like nothing about us without us. And that also confirms what Nyadang said earlier on about having youth represented by a youth minister, a young minister that is to represent the youth. So that speaks it very well. And of course, representation matters a lot. So thank you so much. I'll go further. We still don't have Ms. Modi with us, but let's just go on to our next question. Yeah, there she is. Hi.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry
good.
for the
We
inconvenience,
can
but
hear you.
I have just shift to my phone because the computer is a bit disturbing me.
Okay, it's good to have you on. I'll just repeat the question again. What motivated you to use the strategy of employing and giving the chance for young women to start working with your organization and doing internships?
Thank you so much. You know, young women, especially women in South Sudan, you see that they have a shrinking space at all levels. When you go to education-wise, the level of education that young women get, most of the girls drop out of school, at least before reaching secondary school. And then the percentage that reach secondary school and go to the university is less than 5% because of school dropout coupled with issues affecting them with negative cultural practice. The strategy of engaging young women in capacity building, and then as well as giving them internship in the organization, empowering them, making them ready to go to the labor market, is most of the organizations and the government, they will always talk about people having experience of maybe 3 to 4 years experience before they get a job. As a result, it's very difficult for young women in that scenario to get a job. Young Women Christian Association create this platform for young women so that they can be able to acquire skills in preparation to face the market, the labor market. As a result, YWCA always open ways for young people after school. They'll have to engage them so that they can be able to practice the skills that they study in the school and then at least prepare them for the market. As a result, you see that most of our people, the reason why I say it is a shrinking space is in the government, if you see, they will always say, young women, you are still young, you have to go to the youth activity. And then when these young women are with the youth, they will say, no, you are women, you need to join the women. So you can see that there's no proper space whereby young women can exercise the talents they have. What motivates me is these young women, they are so talented, and then they have the energy, have the capability of doing things if you can easily direct them so that they can be able to do what is required of them. As a result, if you don't give them that skill, they may not be able to perform as required by the labor market. So what we do in YWCA is like mentor them, build their leadership skills, prepare them to face the future, which of course ahead of them. Like my colleagues were saying, it's they are not leaders of tomorrow, but their leadership starts today. If you want the young women to be leaders, you need to start mentoring them so that they can be able to face the job market, which of course is shrinking space for most of the young women. That's why most of the time YWCA is considering priority for young women so that they can acquire jobs. I can testify that most of the young women who have internship with us, and then most of them who have volunteer with us, whenever they go to the labor market, they always get better job. This indicates that there's a lot to do with young women so that they can become the leader that we expect in the future, and in the women leadership that we are building within South Sudan. Thank you.
Yeah. Modi.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hello? Hello? Muting me.
Yes, hello. Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Modi. Thank you for the insightful comments on the organization and how you work. It's really an inspiration to see how you involve the young women in employment. Thank you so much. I'll proceed further to our next question, and it goes to Honorable Nadia Rob. Are there policies on youth in South Sudan? And what are the key elements in that policy? Or what specific factors are there for the female youth?
Listening to the presentation of Nyadak and Monica, they were wonderful presentation, by the way. And I captured some points on it. And these are the responsibility that we wanted. If the young people talk in this way and they know where they are going, this is what we wanted. They talk about age. When I was being appointed as a minister for youth and culture, as I was 41 years, and they were seeing me that as a grown woman. And it is good that they claim again to come back and say that we need a young person in this area. But for me, I thought that they will brought a lady or a young woman. But it came that it has been given to men, and this was my hope. Coming to what you have asked me before, I want to say something also about the two presentations, what I captured. We are really having, when I was in the ministry, I get that there were not any policy in the ministry, And then we adopted a policy that was circulated all over the country before the independence. And then after the independence, we developed that one, and we agreed at the level of the ministry that it is very important to have a policy that can guide the young people in the country. And this policy is South Sudan Development, South Sudan Youth Development Policy. And it is a very wonderful document. I hope that the young people went through it in South Sudan so that they may have a knowledge about what has been written there, because it is something also has been shared by many stakeholders, including young ladies and also the young males together, and other stakeholders that are not really close to the sector. And this policy was passed because I was keen to have this policy so that the government also give it to the young people so that they can implement it. And it was passed through the cabinet. And really, I want to appreciate the role of the president, because the president was keen for this policy to be supported by all the stakeholders or all the institutions in the country. No institution was exceptional to support the policy, but unfortunately the policy went to the assembly, and up to now, until I leave the ministry, the policy is not out. We have been struggling, and the young people also, some young people was been struggling also to have this policy in place, because the procedures to have an implementing body is going through the cabinet to the assembly, so that it's become a policy working document. Coming to participation of what is there about the young ladies. Really, we as a government, we are concerned about the participation of women. The participation of women, and we know that what role our young and the women are playing in South Sudan. During that days of our rural areas, the women up to now are still suffering, and the one who are building the families, are the one who are bringing up the families, mean that we have a big role. We as a mothers also, even our children has inherited this process, and we need to empower them. Mean that this policy is a very wonderful document that have given a right to the females or to the young women or to the women to have their participation in any sector, in socially, economically, whether politically. And then this policy is there. And this one will take me to what has been mentioned by Nyedak about the articles in our agreements of the conflict, that about the entrepreneurship. This article also we work, and we came up with, we developed the document, which is a policy, and also we developed a legal instrument, which is now, I left it in the ministry to be complete by the new Minister of Youth, and this is the tool also we need to use, because agreement cannot say something, law cannot say something without implementing. And this is what I wanted really young people to, when you are talking about, I used to differ with people, when you are talking about the right are not given. It's something that you take it, whether by force or by you give argument. When you succeed, you have your right. And this, the right, you cannot take the right when you don't know where is that right exactly. And these are the channels that you have agreement, which has given a right to the young people to play a role in economy sector, and you have also a role politically through the ministry, so that you have also your voice to raise your voice. And this is what I have been struggle all this time to give them, so that we let them voice, let them tell us what they do, and let them tell us what they wanted. Yes, they have mentioned that the matter is not the age. And I can tell you, I did not come experienced woman without any empowerment. I have been working, and you have heard my CV. It's not just something written, it's something that I really tested, and I really went through it. When I start to work in the civil servant, I was 17. And it is something that, because I want to work also to live, at the same time, at the other hand, also giving me empowerment. And this is what we want to talk. You cannot say that you are young people without any empowerment, or you are building something without empowerment. It is your right to get the empowerment at this moment. And it is your role to have a role in this moment so that you can carry it for tomorrow, because you have ahead of you another generation. You are not a generation for today alone. There is another generation ahead of you. It is right. I really concur with anything that came out. Yes, we cannot talk about the age because, and this is that hurting us as South Sudanese in our culture. We know that even I like the culture of our rural areas. If you go now to the rural areas, the person who has 12 years know their position. They formally put them in a specific position. When I become 15 years mean that I've grown. Leave alone to become a 17 that the people talk about how I can become a mother. And there is something that really unique in our culture, because they teach me how to be responsible. Because I cook, I do everything. I'm a responsible person. I go to also to milk, my milk. I do, even the young men, they know their role in our rural areas. But here now we have, when the child become 15 years, it's still young, it's still child, and this is something hurting us, by the way, because even now I'm dealing with my children at home. Even the 7 years, I see that they're supposed to be responsible people. Even I used to tell them that in Belet Khawajadi now, the people, even if you are 3 years, you know what to do. And this is that what hurting us, and we want to move out this one. I can see now, Keji, she's a young, and now the people are recognize her internationally. Why not South Sudanese? And we want to start from our families, by the way. And in my family, I'm tough with any child in my family. I told them that you must learn from now how to be responsible for yourself first, and then you come to be responsible for others. I'm really happy for the ways that they handle the situation, and I hope that young people are hearing now so that they can learn. Because when our representative of this wonderful gathering tell us that we need to be responsible, restricted, and all these things, I was laughing inside, because sometimes when they see politicians, they see that they will insult it politician. But this is not the way that we can do things, because I wanted you to learn, and I wanted you to also to correct me. Even if you are young, even if you are less than me 20 years, I know that there is something in your mind that you can correct me. And there is something that you needed from me to give it to you. I want to confirm to you there is a policies, and the young people will follow these policies. As I told you earlier, that the policy is now in the assembly, and we hope that the new assembly will come. And already there is young people are moving, and also there is many things that they need to put their attention. Let them just put their attention, not to the attention of things that cannot build our country. We need you to put your attention to your right. What exactly you need to be empowered now? Because when you go to the market now, those who are suffering are the women. They struggle to feed us in the market, and then also they are not given a chance to have this opportunity. What is the chance that I'm talking about? To empower them, to facilitate what they need. This is what they can empower. This is the space that they are talking. This is the space, I think that this is the space that they are talking. This is the space that they are getting themselves, that they are marginalized, and we need to give them a space. We need to give them a space so that they do something. And then when they do something wrong, we correct them, and they accepted the correction. And this is what we wanted. If we want to build a nation, we need to build a nation. Without knowledge, we cannot do anything. And we want also to teach our people and to give them a knowledge that the education is a development. Education is empowerment. Education is an economy. Without all these things, no, the country cannot go ahead. I really appreciate what came out in your papers, and I hope that to make sure that the young people are representing in the country and start to take your right. Don't wait to your right. Me, I don't like to wait for my right. If I saw my right is somewhere in the Rukun, I have to go there and grab it. Whether you like it or you do not like it, at the end of the day, there is a way that I have done it. A good way that will not harm you, will not harm me. At the end of the day, we will agree. And this is what we wanted from you young people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Honorable Nadia. And that was really great perspective you've given us. And yeah, a reminder again for us, the youth, me, the youth, for us, the youth, to go grab our opportunities, not to wait until someone gives us. And again, that equally as the young can learn from the old people can learn from the young ones. So thank you so much. I'll move further and I go to Ms. Modi. What has been the benefit of empowering youth? You have mentioned some of it, but then do you think that your strategy should be documented and be used as the best practice in South Sudan?
If you don't empower these young women, where do we expect them to get the skills that we require them to go further? It's our responsibility, joint responsibility, to make sure that young women who are looking for a job, they are mentored. And then also, such organization like YWCA that is opening doors for young women, at least they need to be, information that is being there is being documented. One, we are not empowering women only on on job, but also we do economic empowerments for them. We train them on how they can start small skills business so that they can generate income for themselves. If you look critically, what is bringing back our young women is they are living below poverty. Most of the people can survive on less than $1 per day. And then as a result, what we do as young women Christian Association is like training them and then telling them that whatever little resources they have, they can still form groups and then start investment and then savings with their group. Because currently we cannot get people like micro institution that can give loans for people to start up business, but they can start their own business small and then they can like making the mandazi, making other things, then they can generate income for themselves. As a result, it is necessary that we really need to give chance for young women and then document all the achievement that is being done. You know, most of the things are vanishing because it's not documented. So this is what I can say. It is very important for us to document. But our challenge is, who are the people who can document it? We do a lot, but less is being recognized.
Thank you so much. It's really a great organization that you are working in, and you have given so many young people the opportunity to get into the workplace and to the workforce. I mean, it is our responsibility to notice it, the work that you're doing, and documenting it to be the best practice. I think for South Sudan would be an important thing. So I hope that we all will be able to look at it and be able to support you as you do your work. Thank you so much. I'll proceed further to Ms. Yadang. What are the current initiatives being done to empower the youth in South Sudan?
Yes, there are a lot of youth-led initiatives that are being spearheaded across the country. Not even that, but also youth are creating organizations. So there are a lot of youth-led organizations. For example, the one I work for, I Am Peace. We are a national youth-led organization that aims at, working towards peace building, and that includes children in schools, primary and secondary schools. We provide outreach for the students in school. The current initiatives, most of them are from youth themselves, for them understanding that there's a gap that they're missing out from. And so they're able to bring in their skills and teach each other. Another activity, maybe I can give an example, is for us as IMPs, who were able to train young women in mediation skills just about 2 weeks ago. And these are young women who are already active leaders in the society. So out of that, they were able to gain new skills that they didn't know before, and in a context where they're able to take it down to the grassroots level and not just at the national level. I believe there's a large gap and a disconnect that I wanted to talk on a bit later, a disconnect between the national level and the grassroots level, but also the different groups in our society. You realize that a lot of campaigns and a lot of advocacy is done by youth themselves within the different organizations, and there's a disconnect between the national government and even institutions such as the legislature, which is key when it comes to policies and laws and reviews. So you find that youth are taking the forefront to ensure that they're able to educate themselves. Each organization will provide the skills that they have in order to teach young people, and not just men, but also women. And I'd like to congratulate them as they're coming up to ensure that they are able to achieve the skills that they need. So I definitely feel that there's a need for us to bridge this gap and let it not just be meetings or instances that happen maybe once a month. It should be constant and it should be periodical so that the youth themselves can actually feel that there's a call by their leadership, there's a call by the national government to bring them into situations where they would just have to learn from their peers. Because again, people with experience is a lot different than someone who is your peer who may have maybe a year or two experience more than you. So I believe there's a disconnect, and there's a critical need in the near future to ensure that that disconnect is breached.
Thank you so much for your perspective. And it's again our collective responsibility to bridge that gap, that disconnect that is there. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Monica. What key areas should the youth be involved in to participate immediately?
Could you repeat that again? Hello?
Yeah, hello. Yes. What key areas should the youth be involved in for them to be able to participate immediately? Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuilding is important as it is a concrete and visible part of reconstruction. After violence, tangible changes assure individuals and their communities progress. Rebuilding is a comprehensive process which involves the psychological, physical, and social aspects of renewal. It is not a process to be left out to a specific group, as it may result in reverting back to violence. The guarantees of reconciliation, reconstruction, and reintegration can be derived from a more holistic approach. Recultivation is the peace culture approach, in which society tries to promote a culture of peace rather than violence. Emphasizes that society should focus on the young rather than the old, as it is an opportunity to cultivate a new generation towards sustainable peace. After a period of sustained violence, a culture of peace needs to be fostered. It is important to recognize that participation of youth is an essential vehicle for sustaining and maintaining progress. In post-conflict countries like South Sudan, it is essential that governments establish a system that allows the voice of various parties to be heard. Inclusiveness is important when a state is being rebuilt. There is a need for new interventions that can restore the peace, security, and confidence to the suffering silent majority.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Monica. And indeed, cultivating a culture of peace is very important. And again, with youth, they are the future of our nation. So it's an important duty for us all to help them live in peace and cultivate that peaceful environment around them. So thank you. I'll go further to KG, and it has been said that the youth in the diaspora have mostly adopted the cultures of the countries where they are living. including unacceptable ones. I don't know which ones are those, but you can mention. Do you agree with the statement? Why and why not?
So I can relate to that just because, so like I've never been to South Sudan before, even though like my whole upbringing, it's like I felt so connected to Juba just because of my family. But growing up in Khartoum meant that I was adopting the culture in the north for like social survival, for my mental well-being. And so like I can understand why like a lot of young people, like in whichever country they're in, like they might try to juggle like, okay, my South Sudanese identity, and then I also need to be able to assimilate or integrate into the local culture here. And so I can understand. I don't know about like unacceptable. For me, like when I think about some of the cultures that young people embrace being unacceptable, I think about like, oh, maybe it's fear from parents who are like, you're completely dismissing your South Sudanese identity and you're 100% assimilating that like, we're afraid, like we're losing you, you're denying your identity. But like for me, I understand that like wherever you are, like for survival purposes, people are going to assimilate, people are going to try to take on different identities. And I see it from a different perspective. I see kind of us expanding our identities as South Sudanese people. So for me, it's like, okay, now like I still speak Arabic, I speak English, and like there are all these cultural pieces that I like have added to myself. So like I have all these layers. Like I'm still South Sudanese, nothing about me has changed, but I also have my Americanized identity. And like sometimes they can be in like there can be tension. But like I think we still need to think about it from a different perspective. Like if it's like young folks or if it's parents, whoever, like we need to come together and think about it as we're expanding our identity as South Sudanese people. And like what else can we do if I'm maybe losing touch with my South Sudanese identity, or I'm feeling like I'm completely denying it and everything, like what else can we do so that I can feel proud enough of my South Sudanese identity and still embrace my Americanized identity as well. But for me, yeah, I don't know about it being like unacceptable cultures or anything like that, more just like people trying to juggle different layers of identities and trying to think about their survival and how they blend in or how they just juggle different intersectional pieces of their well-being. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. I don't know about it being completely unacceptable rather than just expanding our identities as South Sudanese people.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the importance is drawing on the good values from all the cultures that youth get entangled in and not losing oneself in this. Thank you so much. Yeah, we are running out of time and I'll just go further to questions. That goes, the last one, or next to the last question goes to Honorable Nadia. What policies are there to promote the youth of South Sudan in sports, culture, music, and other talents?
Yes, again, Pony. The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport was one ministry before the last revitalized agreement, and now it has become a Youth and Sport and another Ministry of Culture and Museum and National Heritage. As I said earlier, that in our ministry, when we were in one ministry, we concern about the young people because we know that they are cross-cutting people that can work in all the sector, which is culture and sport and youth. That's why we were keen about having the policy that can be implemented, which is the South Sudan development policy that I mentioned, and also the agreement also recognized the importance of empowering the young people economically and politically also. Now in our sector, which is a new ministry for culture, yes, it was there before, but it was not function as now we are doing it. And it is a wider sector. It is a wider sector, and the target also are the young people. Because if we are talking about the culture, it's talking about the culture, the origin of the person. And we know that the person grown from child to adult with all the different culture, as KG mentioned about her identity. Identity is something related to culture. And if you adopted the culture of those people who you have the new identity, something also is strange and need to go back to where you came. That's why she said that she's feeling, she's not seeing herself as somebody that adopted the new identity, but she is still origin, even if she has another identity. That's why we think about now we are working on the policy, which is the policy for culture, for our culture and heritage, and as also in at the same time in the sport, also there is a policy that developing the sport in the country, so that we become among the people that also we know our potential in sports in our country and the talents that we have in the sports sector in our country. And you can know the young lady Nyada. She also now she activist in sport sector. And I think she's doing a very good role now in Olympic Committee. And this is things that we put in our mind. When I was in the ministry, these are the things that I put, how the young people can play a role, can develop the sport to become something that we are unique as we are unique before. It was something that it was in my mind. We develop the policies, and the policies are there in the ministry also for the development of sport in the country. And as we are working now, I'm talking to you, we are finalizing the culture policy, which is a national culture and heritage policy. And without policy, by the way, Bonnie, and without laws regulate you, you cannot work as a human being. Even if you are in your house, if you don't have a guidance, a guidelines that you put aside as a parent, you cannot also direct it to your children. That's why the policy, as we went through the wars, I mentioned earlier that we are in conflicts. Since 50 years we are in conflicts, mean that something interferes with our culture, something interferes with our norms, because we start migration in 80s when the struggle is starting, mean that South Sudanese has become all white, mean that there is something that interferes with our children. Now my children are not, they didn't know, maybe they know Arabic because we came from the background of Arabic language. But if you are talking, now I'm talking Denka, my children cannot talk Denka. And I'm talking, I know Nuer, my children can. I know Shuluk, my children can. And I can also upgrade my languages, different languages in our communities. But my children, the generation now, is difficult to know them. And this is where KG really mentioned it. And it is very important to think about that one. That's why we have a policy. And this is the first things that I work on it now. I cannot operate the ministry as I operated before, because it was just a unit talking about the culture, but what is the meaning of the culture? And we need to protect and to preserve our identity through the policies, to have a clear policies where all the stakeholders participate, where stakeholders give the idea how we can preserve what we have, because we have good things in our life, in our background, we have a good things that we can adapt it and teach to our generation, the coming generation, because we have a problem, by the way. We have been exposed for this damage. The construction that Monica talked about it is very important. How, after we have a peace, how we can rebuild our people to come back, for the sense that we are going back to our nature. We are going back to our norms. We are going back to our culture. And this is very important point. If it is a point that they are talking like this, the young people, me, I know, because I have been working with them since 2013 up to now. And I'm enjoying, by the way. And I know it is a lot of headache. I pass through a lot of headache. But the good thing that I get, there is young people that can build this country. And there is young people that can listen to us as their fathers transparent, and to do something in this country, and they can build this country. And I agree with them that the empowerment, to empower them, when I talk about the empowerment, it's not only just, there are three pillars that are very important. Empower you educationally, empower you, you have education, that's why you will talk about the political arena, you will talk about the economy, you will talk about the social reforms. All these things are empowerment that young people need. And if you are talking about the economy, it's something that challenge in our country. The young people now, we're supposed to use them in agriculture sector. Are we giving them opportunity? This is a question that we are now in it. Are they give themselves opportunity to come and initiate? Because the initiation, when you initiate something also, it is very important. Are they have a heart to develop agriculture sector? And how? Then you come back to the person that's supposed to provide the things that are supposed to be a tool for you to do something to the country. I really want to repeat that again. For me, I'm ready for any question. I'm ready for any time, even if I'm not in the ministry. I'm ready to serve the young people, because I get, when I grow, I knew that, and I feel that to start from 17 was not an easy, but I was in need to build myself for my livelihood. At the same time, I got myself now, as I'm talking now, I get that what I gained at that age, at that moment, has benefited me now. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I wish we have the whole day to just
thank
talk
you so
and
much.
listen
Thank
to you.
you.
Thank you so much. That was very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we are soon short of time. I'll just go on and ask KG, what can be done to unify the voices of the youth in the diaspora and in South Sudan? And what roles can the parents play in shaping the youth in the diaspora to continue to work for the betterment of our country, South Sudan? Thank you so much.
As far as the role of parents, like for me, I appreciate my parents for always just like teaching me about where I come from, like teaching me my history, teaching me my roots. And like, I know as a young, like when I was younger, I was just like, I don't want to hear about it. Like, I don't care. I'm focused on being just from Khartoum. But like, I think parents can just keep that going. Like, just keep educating young people and your kids about their history, values, like where we come from, our culture and everything. And then for me, like right now, I appreciate technology being able to connect me with other South Sudanese people, so we can continue just using technology and all the resources that we have to stay connected. So like if it's sessions like this where we can talk with one another, or if it's virtual spaces where we can brainstorm together. And like, I know I feel disconnected sometimes from what's happening in South Sudan, but like, I think we can just use technology to stay in the loop as far as like, this is what's happening, so that you know, like, yeah, this is the current situation and this is what role you can play, even if you're overseas. Like, I'd love to just find out, like, are there podcasts by South Sudanese young people? Like, what virtual spaces are available in like all these resources, so that we can stay connected. So for me, like, I would just say we can rely on technology and whatever resources we have in this century to just stay connected and keep each other in the loop and figure out, like, how can we do this advocacy work together, even if we're far apart in different continents or different countries. Like, we're still part of the same community. We're still all South Sudanese. And so we can still come together virtually to help each other.
Thank you so much, KG. What would you give as your recommendations and way forward for us before I go back to the others?
Yeah, as far as recommendations, like I said, I love this space. Like, I know I'm not always up super early on Saturday, but like, I love that we have this space here for me to stay connected and just hear from other inspiring women. And then like, I would love to just get connected with other young people in South Sudan. So like, if there's a virtual community where we can talk about like, what are you doing for young people activism? Like, what does it look like in South Sudan? What does it look like in the US? Because it's different here. Like, I'm in politics, but the work looks different in the US. So for me, like, I would love a space where we can just talk about what we're doing to advocate for young folks to be involved in decision making. And if like there are any other ways for us to just hop on virtual like rooms or something like that to just like meet one another. Like for me, like my network doesn't have a lot of South Sudanese people outside of like my immediate family and like cousins. And so if we can have like networking spaces or anything like that, or even mentorship opportunities, that would be wonderful. Like sign me up for it. Because I want to be involved. I want to stay in the know. And I also want to share like what I'm doing on my end here in the US and hear from other people what they're doing as well.
Thank you so much. You had already mentioned some challenges. That's why I didn't ask you. So we hold on that. Thank you so much. I'll move on to Ms. Modi. What are the challenges facing young women in South Sudan? You've already mentioned some, and especially in the refugee camps. What are your recommendations moving forward? Thank you. Muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello? Yeah. There are a lot of challenges that young women face. You know, in South Sudan here, if I'm not mistaken, people look at young women like only expecting them to be good mothers, good housewives, instead of expecting them to be good leaders and then people who can contribute for the development of this country. And then also when I in the refugee camp, you see that the vulnerability increase when they move from across the border, and then they are so vulnerable, and then sometimes people look at them like sex object, which of course we don't need to look at our young women as sex object. We need to look at them as people who have potentials, who have capability to contribute towards the development of their country and to support their community. These are the challenges. One, when they go to the labor market, you see that most of the men will require them to sleep with them first before they give them any assignment. This one is a major challenge across, whether within South Sudan or abroad. This one is facing some of the young women around. And then secondly, you see that when they are also in the government, sometimes they are not given opportunity. We have not witnessed any young woman below 35 being maybe a minister or a MP or elsewhere. So they are shrinking space around there. So these are the challenges that are facing, but they have the voice. These are people with energy, with the zeal to contribute and then support their families. But the issue is like there's not enough space for them. So my recommendation is young women who are coming from school should not be job seekers. They have to be job creators. Because when you have become the job seeker, they are going to pave way for you to be like harassing you or telling you all things or that of that kind. When you come with the specialist that you have, accept to volunteer with other organizations that can give you a basic skills or a kind of building your CV to become good. As a result, start something that is a little business that can generate income for you so that somebody will not manipulate you with money and then make use of you and then make pregnant you and dump you with any child. So it's my recommendation that at least young women should come up and they identify the capability they have so that they can be able to stand firm to build their leadership. So that's what I can say.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll move on to Ms. Monica. What are the challenges facing the youth in participating in peace building and post-conflict reconstruction, and what are your recommendations moving forward?
Thank you. I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to be very quick. So, as mentioned earlier by my colleagues, so challenges facing youth, I'll just summarize is unemployment and poverty, trauma, being from a post-conflict country like South Sudan, being marginalized in the mainstream society, exposure to violence, crime, and so on. So I'll just move on to my recommendation as we're running out of time. So my recommendation is that to guarantee the inclusion of South Sudan youth, it is important to critically review their roles and work with them to ensure that they contribute to the national efforts, such as initiatives, uh, will ensure that their full potential is harnessed and national development assured. No society can discover its full potential without including youth in their development process. Recognize the importance and value of listening to youth perspectives. Recognize the practical ways in which youth participate, including examples of how youth are and can be engaged in efforts to develop their own protection in their communities, security at local and national levels, and respond to the roles and responsibilities of youth and support and help to strengthen their peace building initiatives, promote the inclusion of youth voices in peace processes, and commitment to comprehensive plans of action to fulfill youth rights in peace agreements. Youth participation can help youth to build upon their own resilience and make changes in their lives. Meaningful participation and space to come together with their peers to share their experiences and express their views can give youth strength and increase their life skills and self-confidence. Participation and associations as part of a process which help youth to promote their rights and fight for social justice. Youth can actively contribute to peace in a numerous of ways through rebuilding social relationships, contributing to a culture of peace, and rebuilding social structures. Their contributions play a role in enhancing security, in reconciliation, in search for the truth and justice, in rebuilding education, the economy, and livelihoods. Accountabilities to young people means that adults, decisions makers take action with which respond to youth concerns, priorities, and recommendations about violence, security, and peace, and which ensure the fulfillment of youth rights to protection, participation, development, and survival. Adult duties Adult duty bearers, including parents, teachers, civil society organizations, government officials, police, military, private security actors, UN, etc., have responsibilities to protect children's rights. Collective action involving the affected population, as well as those maintaining the status quo, optimizes change. Recognizing that young people are resources, a platform can be created for young people to cope with multiple challenges they face and to contribute to society in a supportive environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for great recommendations. Thank you. Now, Ms. Nyadag, what are the challenges facing the youth of South Sudan, especially the female youth, and what are your recommendations moving forward?
Yes, I'm glad my colleagues have mentioned a lot of the challenges that we have. So I'll probably run through the few that I feel have not been mentioned. One of them is the lack of safe spaces. You have many youth who feel like there aren't enough spaces in the country, safe spaces for them to speak in the way that they would like to speak, in the way that they feel matters need to be addressed. So oftentimes you find that there are many of them who are limiting themselves in what they would like to say. And then we often end up in the same conversation where we're all saying the same thing, but then the actual things that need to be said are not said because there's a lot of fear. Another one is the inability of the participation of youth who are not in political parties. You find that there are a lot of situations, especially in the political arena, they say you're required to be in a political party. There are many youth who may feel maybe they're young or feel they're not equipped enough or may not necessarily feel like they need to join a political party. I think it becomes unfair and unreasonable for youth who are not in political parties to be sidelined because you find that the activities are going on in political parties. For example, there's the SPLM Youth League. For the young people who are not in the SPLM, they cannot join the activities of the SPLM Youth League unless they're doing them outside or it's an outreach or, and so you end up finding that there are quotas that they're given specifically to people who are in these leagues. So I think there's definitely an importance of including young people who are not in political parties and those who may not decide to join political parties, because at the end of the day, that is a commitment and that is a choice that one has to make. We've talked about peace building in different ways, and then also there's peace building out of the political arena. We also have it in the social arenas. So I would really urge that, the arts in general needs to be considered as a legitimate industry, and that is a challenge that we are facing as young youth. We have a lot of artists who are singers, painters, drawers, graffiti artists. They're not able to find their space because their art is not seen as a legitimate industry in the country. Another one we have to tackle is our education system, especially for the girl child. And I'm very thankful that Ms. Modi had mentioned this earlier. The girl child is really suffering in regards to, we have a policy, the girls' education policy, which was 2015-2017, is currently under review right now for a new policy. But still you find that even the fact that there is a policy, there still hasn't been a lot of change in regards to girls' education. And right now, in a situation like where we have the COVID pandemic, you have a lot of girls who have, don't have anything else to do, or they're forced inside their homes with, domestic work all day long. And then they're not able to participate in activities such as Education on Air, which is the initiative of the Ministry of Education to keep people learning during COVID-19. And then now you end up with several early child marriages, teenage pregnancies, particularly in like Eastern Equatoria State, you find that is very prevalent. So we also have to find a way of how we are going to reform our education system, because it's not only for right now, but if we continue in this pace, at some point you'll find that our kids are not getting the adequate education that they need. As I move to my recommendations, as I said, arts needs to be made as a legitimate industry. Artists should be able to monetize out of their work in the creative space, in the creative industries. There should be creation of spaces for young people, especially young activists, to speak out the issues that they feel are detrimental to the development of this country. And we're able to speak them in an amicable way, and in which we are not seeing each other as enemies, or it's not exactly a fighting point. There should be inclusion of all youths across all sectors, regardless of political affiliation, regardless of social affiliation, because it is a right. It is a right of every single person to be able to participate publicly. It's also important that we have the availability of leaders. We're talking about the disconnect that we have between the youth and our leaders. And for example, in my case, as my organization, we host a radio station. So a recommendation that I can give is the availability of leaders to speak to the public continuously, not just for rallies or addresses, but they should be able to avail themselves to speak to the youth who are mainly right now on social channels. Technology has advanced in a very major way. So they're available on social channels like Facebook and Twitter, but also through the radio. The radio has really large audiences and it reaches a wide variety of states. So having them available to be able to participate in radio talk shows, sessions, maybe the debates on the radio, that would also help, and will also reduce the barriers that are there and the disconnect that is there between the young people and the leaders. I also feel that there should be programs in government sectors, especially such as legislature. We have all realized that the legislature has been a big hindrance, because a lot of laws and policies end up being stuck in legislature and not passing. So we also want young people to be able to join this. For example, parliamentary working groups, they're able to learn how parliament processes work, and they can also be able to push policies and laws that are going through parliament, hopefully that we can be able to make them move faster. And my last one is there should be investment in research institutions. There are a lot of young people who like research, who are interested in research, and there's no way that there's development that can happen without research. Learning about other people, learning other countries, trends that are happening, how we can avoid certain situations, and how we can, impact the decisions that are already there. So I do feel there's a lot of space for young people if there's adequate connection and collaboration, and youth definitely have the abilities to go far. It's not a me or you situation, it's an all of us, but an all of us cannot happen without us being able to communicate with each other. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Really great recommendations, and I hope we take them further and work on them. Our last one out to give recommendations is Honorable Nadia. You've already mentioned a couple of challenges, so please just come up with some recommendations and way forward.
I also want to thank all the panelists and young ladies who are here, my sister Modi. As I mentioned, challenges. Yes, these are the challenges we need to address, and we cannot address it if we don't have a final peace in the country. Because when you are talking about what has been mentioned now by Neda, it is infrastructure. When you are talking about infrastructure, you need stability so that you will have a development. I think as a government now, as we are making sure that the peace is in place, we need also to work in hard as a South Sudanese so that we can make a peace reality and we can have a proper management in our country. We also empower young people, which they are the leaders of today and tomorrow, and it is our role to empower them. And I want to assure you that as a government, we are really keen to have this peace, so that because we are running back. We have our independence, and we did not do anything during this period that we spent, a waste time that we spent fighting each other, is for the other countries. They have done a lot of things, and we don't have nothing that can we are not poor people, by the way, as a South Sudanese, because our land is something alone that can make us to be rich, leave alone the oil that we have. It just needs stability, and I need young people to really to be patient and to give their ideas, the good ideas that I listened to it today. I learn, and I'm happy to hear from them as a young people, to give us what they wanted for tomorrow and what they wanted for today. And I think these are things that the government should work. That's why the agreement recognized, and the money, and these are the recommendations that Monica has talked about, how we can come back and do something. And the KG also, and NEDAC. And these are the things that we need. All the recommendations, I think these are the very wonderful recommendations that we should put in place. My last point that I wanted to urge all the young people, those who are listening, it is a use of media. It is a use of technology. Is it technology has come to this world to destroy our country, to destroy ourselves, or to benefit? These are the things that also I need to be carried out clearly, so that we use the technology as the people use it. I know very well now the way that Monica using the technology, the way KG and the way Nyedak, is not the way that I'm seeing now in the media. Because our media has become, whether you are outside there or within the South Sudan here, our media has been distracted even more than the war of gun. And how can we resolve this one? How we can take the technology as a benefit? Because the people now, even this situation of COVID-19, don't surprise that after 1 year, even the technology will be different things, because human being has become a problem also. And the people are thinking now, and the giant people in the economic sector, they are thinking now how they can leave a human being to go their ways and then use another technology to produce. Because if we are talking about the development, we are talking about also to the people who can be productive. And the space is very important to be given. And this is the recommendation that I need really to give to my government, to myself, that to give the young people the space, not only to talk in rallies, because when we are talking in rallies, it doesn't benefit people. We need also to create a space how we can talk with the young people, how we can give them opportunity, how we can give them something that also they go and practice on it and come back to tell us that we have done this one. And then we say, yes, you did this. And we need also to motivate them. We need to motivate them, to give them opportunity. When you give them opportunity, as Modi say that, be a job creator, not a job seeker. And this is our problem also. All of us who want to become a politician, all of us who want to become a civil servant, and we know that the public sector, which is the government sector, cannot accommodate everyone. We need also to develop our country in different sectors. We need to become, even me now, if I have been given opportunity, because I went to the politics, because the education in my areas, there is no competition in my area. I got myself alone in the area that I came from, and then I get to become a politician. It was not my desire to become a politician, because my background is a vet doctor. I can improve better. I can serve my people in a vet doctor, but I have become a politician, and I hope also to serve my people well in the sector that I got myself I cannot say that by mistake, because I'm serving my people at the end of the day. And really just want to say that the recommendations are very well recommendations, and we hope that we'll work as a government, all of us, to make sure the young people are really empowered to have a better nation. And also I need you, as I told you, the rights are not given. The rights are taken by law, by rights. If you have a right and you know your right is there, go and claim it. Claim it amicably, as Nyedak said. Because when you come in a different way and you tell me that something that not something that can please me, and I see that it is your right, and then you did not bring it in a good way, we can differ. And this is what we lack as a South Sudanese. We don't know how to claim our rights. At the end of the day, you get yourself that in a place you just defend yourself. This is not cannot take us ahead. But finally, I want to say that, and I want to recommend that let us continue to talk. Let us continue to talk so that we can have from the talk, because there is a say that traditionally that when people talk, there is something that come out. The mouse that talk is the mouse that progress. If you just silent, you cannot do anything. Let us continue. Those who create this area to come together. I would urge you that to continue to bring different people, the people that, not the people that want to tell us what exactly they wanted from us. We need you what you wanted from us and what you wanted to take this country ahead. Because we are talking about the country. Even if you are in America, you are in Canada, at the end of the day, you are the South Sudanese. And I love the people that really, when you are there, to think about the background, where you came from, it is very important. Keep on and continue to do whatever is better in this nation. Thank you so much, Dora, and your colleague, and I hope that to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Nadia. Nyadak has the last recommendation to give. You're welcome, Nyadak.
Yes. One last recommendation that I think is really key, especially with our work on the ground, we realize that there's really a need now, right now, more than ever, to prioritize mental health. And that is something that I really do call upon our government and our nation to make it as a national priority. Mental health is really serious, and we have been losing a lot of young people over the past 2 years, even more during the pandemic, many of which we cannot understand why or give reasons why. So I know there's a Directorate for Mental Health at the National Ministry of Health. So I really wish that the government could take upon this to make this a national priority, so that we're able to, create psychosocial support. We're able to we need to reduce the stigma that is regarded to mental health, and be able to create more opportunities that will let our young people, not only just our young people, but people in general, be able to seek the kind of help that they need, because it's really a crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have come to the end of our discussion. I thank you so much, all the panelists, for the wonderful discussion. Thank you for the insights, the perspective that you have shared. I've truly learned a lot moderating through this session. We thank all the audience for tuning in. We are sorry we were not able to take your questions now, but we will be there and answer them. We thank the UN Women in South Sudan for their collaboration. Thank you, Aisha, for helping with the technicals and everything. Just a reminder about tomorrow. Tomorrow we are having a session. It's an extraordinary thing. That's the first time we are running a session on a Saturday, and it's going to be about, let me see, it's a session following up the discussions that was on Saturday last week. So it's a follow-up of that. So tune in tomorrow, and especially for those in North America, be reminded that you have changed your time, so you will have to tune in 1 hour earlier. And the information is on the Facebook page, and it will be streamed live. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll just want to round up with this poem about youth, that the future of the importance of youth empowerment and working with youth in the communities, that the youth are the future of our nation, as we have just mentioned today, that we should not treat them like they are the future, but they are indeed the present, and we should involve them in all aspects of life, all aspects of the society, in politics, in capacity building, everywhere. So thank you again for a fruitful discussion, and I wish you a blessed day, Father. Thank you so much.